Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this session, video games, video games in education, digital on the part of the digital meetings and electronic games introduction. Welcome to all to the digital meeting of electronic games, one of ThinkTech innovative programs in partnership with the Saudi Federation of Electronic Sports. The Saudi Federation of Electronic Sports in the season of Gamers Without Borders. First of all, let me introduce myself to you. I'm Bاسم, المحمدي, the Chief Operation Officer in RAS Group. ThinkTech Initiative is the umbrella of strategic awareness project in Saudi Arabia, launched by the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology in cooperation in its gaming version with Gamers Without Borders initiative to anticipate development in the world of electronic games and spread knowledge to the community of this modern sport by attracting all those interested in it to position Saudi Arabia to be one of the forefront of innovative countries in the field of electronic games and achieving the goals of Vision 2030. Today we are talking about video games in education with our guests, Mr. Dan Milward and Mr. Ayman Al-Attas. Mr. Dan, please can you introduce yourself.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Dan, and I'm a game developer. I've been in the industry. I've been in the games industry for about 20 years, 10 of which has been in the games-based learning space. As the CEO of GameFruit, a learning platform for making 2D games, and our users are students and schools, their teachers, and our customers are schools and the Ministry of Education, and our users are learning coding skills specifically around how to develop games, block-based programming, literacy and problem solving. And it's a pleasure to be here and talk about my experience in this space.
Very nice to have you tonight, Dan. Ayman, please.
Yes, thank you. My name is Ayman Al-Attas. I'm a self-educated individual, and I like to strive to help others improve and better themselves while working on improving myself as well. I'm currently the program director at the Innovation and Entertainment Company. I'm also a certified Microsoft mentor and a Minecraft Education Edition expert and a certified mentor. We've helped in delivering multiple training programs related to digital transformation and using Minecraft in the education sector, both private and public. We were also involved in many featured programs and events, such as the Saudi Codes, Edu Day for the Ministry of Education, and the Hour of Code in partnership with Microsoft. I was also a member of the nomination committee in the Saudi Landmark Contest in 2016.
Nice, great. So nice to have you with us, Ayman. And speaking of Minecraft, maybe we'll start our tonight session with how Minecraft contributes to education.
Our journey with Minecraft and Microsoft started back about 7 years ago. Minecraft on its own was a game-breaking game in its own category, the sandbox games. It brought new elements and new way of playing a game. Basically, most games that you play have objectives, have targets, have things you need to achieve. Minecraft didn't have any of that. You just open the game and you can do whatever you want to do.
True.
That's what Minecraft was, and that created an entire freedom of expression for a lot of different gamers that are used to those restrictions in certain games and in their everyday lives in general. With that, the community just kept on growing, and then they came up with the mod system, the modification. That on its own gave those gamers the freedom to express themselves even more. They can modify their game into something that they want it to be, and they can share that with others. This created just a huge spike in kids that wanting to learn how to program, how to code this game, how to develop their own modifications, working on different artworks. That just like the amount of creativity that was involved and the Minecraft evolution process, where it came to a point where there's the what they call redstone in Minecraft. Redstone is basically like the electricity in our in the real world. We had kids working on electrical circuits in the elementary, working on different logic gates. We learned about logic gates in high school. And here we have kids in the elementary applying them in the game, not even knowing what they are. It's just part of the game element. And they're just basically learning problem solving skills. They're trying to build something and having issues, and they just figure out a workaround on how to create and build that different mechanism. They're building machines to improve on their farming, and all of these different skills are just being developed. The communications going online, they learn how to research, how to find different people that are facing the same problem that they are, and then you have these collaborations, and it's just an endless sea of skills and information, and just being built just by playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
So that Microsoft, I believe Microsoft saw that in Minecraft when they got the game from Mojang, and then they developed the Minecraft Education Edition, which is specifically targeted for the education sector, and just how the teachers are using it, and the game-based learning system in schools, and applying the curriculums into those lessons, and working with the lesson that's being developed or created with their students. It all just fit in well together. Everything just went smoothly with it. So it's just a huge evolution process, what Minecraft was and how it became. But the education and the skills learning was always there from the beginning. It's just, I believe Microsoft played the right card and developed it in the right path, and it keeps on growing.
Cool, that's wonderful. So it's not like a regular game that we used to play. It is something different, actually.
Yes.
What do you think about that, then, by the contribution of the Minecraft in education?
Yeah, I don't think there's been, it's certainly symbolized a shift in learning, and I think it has spearheaded the digital movement around learning. And I think it's very easy to pick up Minecraft, and so lots of teachers will do so. And I think that a skilled teacher, with a skilled teacher, Minecraft is a really amazing tool. But it also has the ability to be sort of like an entertainment or a consumer platform in the classroom. So I think it's really important that teachers level up in Minecraft to really ensure that their students are learning and not consuming in Minecraft. And I think that's true with most digital tools. So I'm definitely not singling Minecraft out. I love it. I think anything that can shift the learner's role in the classroom from one where they are being talked at by a teacher to actively creating should be rejoiced. And so should anything that gets our kids excited about their learning. My learning, don't know about you, but wasn't particularly exciting a lot of the time. So it's a real pleasure to be embracing tools that can make our kids happy about learning.
Yeah, true. And what I found is it's easy to explain to kids the way of life by giving an examples from Minecraft, how you build stuff and how you do the game. That's amazing, actually. If we go to comparing the skills acquired from the classroom with the skills like studying in the classroom and the skills gained from the electronic games, how do you see that comparison, Dan?
I think that's a really good question. And I think today's kids love games, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we understand that. And so our mission is really to provide kids with a learning experience with the technologies that they already love. So I think the first power of games is to get kids on our side. As educators, there's things we want young people to be learning. So the tools that we choose to educate should be the ones that we believe are the most engaging for kids. So if you create a resource that is based on literacy or learning maths, and you can expertly wrap that up around a game, or young people are building a game on a maths-based subject, then like we were saying earlier, the kids have to do their own research, and not a lot of resources out there, especially here in New Zealand, ask young people to be the researchers in their own educational experience as well. Games by default they're designed to be played by others, so kids are showing the evidence of their learning in the games that they create to others. So it's a good, it's evidence of learning. And yeah, I'm sorry, I've lost my train of thought, but I think the most important, powerful thing about the games is their ability to engage our young people. I'll come back to you again on this in a moment.
Yeah, sure. Great. What do you think about that conversion, Ayman?
Well, personally, I don't think comparing the skills that you gain from the classroom study should be compared with the skills you gain from electronic games in general. They're both necessary. The current education system has its work. I mean, it works. That's why they're teaching it in schools. I believe the skills you gain from games in general are additive skills. They should be complementary to the current education system, not as a replacement, where some people might consider that. I don't think we should replace it. It's an additive, something you add to it. It's an extra skill that is included in like the 21st century skills, for example. You can gain a lot of that from the from multiple different types of games.
Yeah, we tend to the way we do things is we build our resources and we align those with the learning areas and subjects within our curriculum. So 100%, it's all about adding to the curriculum, really. We know what kids need to be learning, and what's the best way of achieving that. And we've got a lot of happy kids working in this space. My first experience with the power of games as a learning tool was school here finishes at 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. We were running a session, and I don't know what it's like over there, but when the school bell rings, it's see you later, kids. And we had kids not willing or not wanting to leave at the end of the day. So when you sort of see an educational experience taking place like that, I think it's wise to kind of unpack it and explore why it's working. But it's also important to really ensure that those curriculum outcomes are in there. And that's what I was saying earlier about Minecraft. A good teacher knows how to ensure that those curriculum outcomes are being met.
So what I think also, it may like encourage the creative thinking, kind of strategic planning. If the kids are into like game development, we are seeing today a lot of companies that are providing like platforms or tools to develop simple games. So that will encourage kids to start thinking in a different way, how they can build, how they can plan ahead, like 2-3 steps ahead to have the full game. Maybe then you have more in this area to add to us on game developing.
So a classroom actually, if you think about it, can mimic a game development studio and any other studio. In traditional learning, you've got a teacher talking to a group of kids, expecting them to kind of take on board what they're telling them and remember that. And that doesn't necessarily work for every kid. So it's automatically, it's not an equitable learning experience. But in a classroom, you're going to have young people who like telling stories. You're going to have young people who are better at art and other creative pursuits, maybe creating sound and music. You're going to have some kids who love coding, and you're going to have designers, and you're going to have different mathematicians. And when you're asking them kids to create a game or create content in something like Minecraft, each of those kids, there's an opportunity for them to learn something and participate in a way that works for them. So quite often we'll hear teachers sort of talking about how game development can makes learning accessible to everyone in their classroom. And I 100% agree about the 21st century careers.
True. Very true.
That's an excellent point, Dan, if I also may add. When it comes to the equity between the students, when it comes to this type of education, usually Microsoft, and we also recommend the teachers that we provide the training for in these classes or programs, is usually when you offer, let's say, a homework for the students. They can apply the homework using a Minecraft education, but we also recommend them to provide the standard type of homework, because again, just to be fair with everybody, not everybody wants to do their homework on Minecraft. Some students, they want to do it, the traditional known familiar way for them. They're not interested in playing it on a game concept. We have seen the students like that. And just to be fair to everyone, we usually recommend is using a balance of both.
Great. Okay, we'll move to the video games, electronic games, and their role in education and entertainment. How we can link them and balance them as well. You want to start with that thing, or Ayman? Go ahead, Ayman.
Well, the gaming industry in general is just booming. If we're talking about games and entertainment, that's just an entire a very huge market on its own. I mean, but we've talked about Gamers Without Borders. You can see just like the competitions in the game, the esports, that it's an entire career in this day and age. So having that in the school system or in the education system just builds that skill properly for the kids at a younger age. So in case he wants to choose that as a career, it's an option that's being taught in schools. It's a skill that can be honed, can be improved, can be useful in today's world, just like any other sport that's available out there. Esports requires a lot of tactical thinking, proper communication. So again, very useful skills that can be used in that career, which can also be branched out to other careers as well.
Yes, Dan, want to add something?
Yeah. So like I was saying earlier, kids already love games, so it's already a perfect opportunity to take advantage of. And I think there's never been an easier time in history to be making games. So there's plenty of opportunity for teachers and for game developers and designers to be collaborating and making meaningful content for our kids. I think a really good example of this is the game Never Alone, which was a game made by I think it was a company, a game studio in New York, collaborated with the indigenous peoples of Alaska, and they made a high quality game that told their local stories. And the elders in those communities were worried that their history was getting lost by kids playing computer games. And so, at some point, some people realized that maybe we should be combining the two together. And so in their classrooms now, their kids are playing Never Alone, our kids are playing Never Alone, and they're learning about their indigenous stories and histories. And I think there's games certainly play a role in that space. You might get bored of me constantly referring to the power of games, and but I truly believe in it, and I think for telling stories and especially histories, there's a great opportunity for us. The New Zealand government is in the process of rebuilding our New Zealand histories side of our curriculum, and so games are going to be a big part of that. It's an opportunity to re-explore history. And games like Civilization, as I was growing up,
That's true.
were way more engaging than my history class. A lot of what I know as an adult of those really meaningful, engaging experiences through games when they're based around real subject matter, they've stuck with me for life, some of them.
True, that's true. And as you said, Ayman, mentioning the esport today, it's an entire ecosystem. There are a lot of, like today, academies training players how to play to be pro players, and it's a career today. It's a profession, like any other sport. Because it was a debate in the past that is it a sport or not? But today it is a sport. Today we have the Saudi Federation of the esport, and it is happening, and it is the future, as you mentioned. Then it's gonna be part of the future, even education system or as an industry by itself.
Yeah, it also adds a completely new set of skills for the teachers. You have teachers using different tools for trying to deliver or providing a different delivery system for the students, as Mr. Dan said, just to keep them engaged in the classroom with them. And then you have, depending on the tools that they're using, you have this like role reversal where the student is teaching the teacher how to play this game so that he can improve. So you have the teacher learning from the student, and just like the teacher remembers what it was like to be a student, and the student now knows what it feels like to be the teacher. So this also role reversal that's been added just because of this applying a game within the education. It's wonderful to see.
Great. How could the gamification improve the efficiency of education?
I like this question, and I like talking about gamification because on one hand, you know, you can really sort of understand the how much of a powerful tool gamification can be. Yet sometimes my colleagues and fellows in the games industry, they also sort of see gamification as a bit of a dirty word in games, but not me. I love it. I think it's but I think it's something that should be done and used and wielded responsibly. And I always go back to casinos. How is it that a casino can take all your money and you still feel okay about it, and you still keep feeding it more? And that's obviously, in my mind, a bad use of gamification. The sort of method, they're using sounds and visual stimulus to give you give your mind a serotonin hit, in the same way that Facebook, has the likes, and there's all of that conversation happening around the world about that at the moment. And is it ethical to be doing that? So if casinos can take all of our money as, willing adults, then surely we can sort of flip that and look at the how they do that in an educational context to get our young people excited about their learning, and how can we trigger those same positive kind of brain hits when they're learning. I think it's and that's the power of, that's what Minecraft can do. That's what we can do when we're getting kids to develop games. We're giving them a fun, contextualized learning experience based around a game loop, we call it. And it's highly engaging, and it can be used for positive outcomes.
Great. Okay, if I come back to you, Ayman, about the same question, we are improving efficiency by gamification in the education. How that could be possible, or the applications of this approach?
Well, gamification, I don't, well, the word might be used recently in the education sector, but I believe it always existed in one point or another in our lives. I mean, I remember back when we were kids and we were rewarded with these stars and emblems and different tags for answering questions or just for good behavior. That's kind of gamification as well. It's just how it improved and technology came in. And now, as Mr. Dan said, I've seen classes online being taught where the student is answering questions and then the website is just flashing and giving clapping noises. That it's answering a question like you answer any other question. It's just the reward that you get, the flashing sounds, the noises. It keeps the kids engaged. Definitely, it keeps them engaged, and I believe that's the efficiency that you're mentioning in this inquiry. I mean, as long as you have the student engaged, it's easier to deliver the message that you want to deliver it for them, rather than just keep on repeating, rinsing and repeating the same thing over and over. Again, it depends on the type of students you have at the end of the day. But yeah, definitely, I believe gamification can help the education sector become a bit more efficient than it is.
Well, actually, that's true. I saw some applications that teaching you foreign languages, and every time you answer like right questions, there is a bird coming and throwing a coin on you or something. Then maybe you can use that coin in a marketplace or to open new phases, which is going to really make the education more like a fun activity more than it's hectic or something that heavy. Well, that's a great way of using the gamification
Yes.
in the education area.
We have also the Ministry of Education. They have this app developed for the kindergarten, Roda, the name of the application. You can find it on the Android and Apple. You can teach your kids the basics that they're being taught in schools in home. You can just open the application and work with your kids on it. It's a beautiful app. I believe they also recently dropped an update with new content. It's very good.
Wonderful. I'm gonna have a look on that one. Great. We're gonna move to different or very important questions that to show the difference between the gamification, when we talk about gamification, and the game-based learning. What are the actual differences between them?
Well, that's a beautiful question, Mr. Bاسم. Thank you for asking it. Well, we have well, to put it simply, gamification is basically about adding game elements to the current curriculum or to anything, the everyday activities. Just by having that, a reward system of some sort, follow-up dialogue, a story, a sound effect, any game elements that you can add, it becomes gamified. That's how you gamify a lesson. You can a teacher can simply divide the classes into different groups, and then they ask a question. Whoever answers the question first, like a contest, like a game show that you see online. Putting it simply, you can add any game element to any current education curriculum that you're running, and you can gamify it with that. But when it comes to game-based learning, you have to learn through playing the game itself, where you can take the content, and based on the game itself that you're using, you have to kind of customize the content to fit the game, not vice versa.
Amazing. Dan, what do you think the difference is?
Well, yeah, gamification is really a set of tools that we use to motivate people to do things. And so they can be applied to games, and they can be applied to other things. I heard once somebody explain to me that gamification, there's two types of gamification. One's intrinsic And so that's things that make you feel good on the inside. You're rewarded in the game, and I feel all warm and fuzzy. I believe that can be an experience you can get from learning something. And there's also extrinsic motivators. So these are the things that make you appear good to others. They're the things that raise your status in another community. That's why in Stack Exchange, you've got all of these really high-paid computer programmers getting paid lots of money during the day to do their day job, but they're not getting kind of elevated. Their kudos or their status isn't being kind of bumped up working at, Microsoft or wherever else. So what they'll do is they'll jump online into something like Stack Exchange, and they'll answer questions for other people, and they'll get rankings and they'll get rated, and that'll sort of make them look good in front of others. And that's the same as the other reward systems we were talking about, like you go to Sea Scouts or Cubs or Scouts or clubs. I don't know what you've got there, but you do certain things and you get your badges, and like in military, I suppose, and people see that and you feel good about that. And they're all things that can get added to games. Games-based learning is more, for us, it's about making, it's about creation and creativity and around a learning experience. And it's about, breaking down what makes games so much fun and applying that to learning. I'm probably always going to go back to that like a stuck record, but it's what works. It's Hello?
Yes, Dan.
Sorry. That's all I have to say about that.
Well, our journey with Microsoft and Minecraft roughly started about 7 years ago. We've always believed in game-based learning. I believe we were early adopters of it. We tried multiple approaches. We started with our own camps and our own centers, collaborating with schools and running events like the Hour of Code back when there were roughly 50 students participating at that time. It's really nice to see the acceptance of such programs with the reform in education and Microsoft leading the transformation. With that being said, we now have millions of participants joining the Hour of Code and the Minecraft competitions. I mean, honestly, we've never been more excited for the future of game-based learning, as we are now also preparing for the largest Minecraft Education Edition competition in collaboration with the Ministry of Education. I believe we've already finished the first phase and we're going into the second one now. I mean, that's it's just a really wonderful thing to see happening.
Can you tell us more, Ayman, about this collaboration?
Well, in the first part of it, it was working with the Hour of Code lesson in Minecraft. Like we said, the whole point of the game-based learning is you open the game and you're playing the game, and while playing the game, you're learning new skills, new activities. That's the objectives that was built within that game. So the kids are learning about coding and programming using Minecraft. So in the first phase, we trained. We ran a course called the Train the Trainer programs, where we trained thousands of teachers. I can't even have the number on my head at the moment. I believe it was over 2,000, if I'm not mistaken. And those teachers just went out and they taught other teachers on how to run the game, download the game, the whole process of running Minecraft into computers and downloading and activating the worlds. And of course, those other teachers went on and they brought students. I believe we had roughly 4+ million participants in the first phase.
Oh,
just a huge collaboration. Of course, so we have roughly 4 million students and teachers and parents and siblings just learning what coding or have at least a basic knowledge of what coding and programming is.
Amazing. That's great. Dan, do you have a similar experience like that that happened with Microsoft here in Saudi?
Yeah, we're seeing more and more, they're called student game development competitions.
Mm-hmm.
Games for Change is an organization in America. They run an annual student game creation competition. I think a few years back, the White House in America, they ran a student game creation competition. And yeah, schools here in New Zealand definitely embrace the hour of code and the activities around that as well. So there's certainly a lot of hype around it in a good way, and it's just pushing the right buttons and attracting people to learning stuff, which I think sort of, it's flipped it all, right? Like once upon a time, we'd all turn up at 9 a.m. and would go to school. Yes, sir. No, sir. And I'm going to take my lessons. But now we've got people and teachers as well as students really excited about these learning opportunities. And so it's sort of, how do we kind of create more of those opportunities? I think it's great to sort of hear about what you're doing with Minecraft and Microsoft. And I sort of think, how do we double that? How do we triple that? How do we, because real digital fluency isn't just our kids being really good at Minecraft, or our kids being really good at Scratch, or our kids being really good at Gamefruit, and then really good at one other tool. It's about our kids having multiple engaging learning experiences where they can flip between the products they need to wield and use to deliver something in the real world. This is where it's all going. This is why we want kids to learn code, because there's jobs for them, there's things to be done. And how do we ensure our kids kind of want to participate in those career opportunities and pathways? If we don't, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that we lose girls at a really young age in terms of their desire to become computer programmers and engineers. And it's the same with young boys here in New Zealand, especially Indigenous boys. And so we've got to be looking for engaging learning experiences. And if we can spread that through the use of these competitions, and they should be a tool to basically carry our message and to spread more of what we're doing.
Very nice.
Great.
We kind of believe that when it comes to, as Mr. Dan was saying, the different tools that can be provided for the kids are well versatile when it comes to this type of technology. Any tool you give them, they just pick it up very quickly. I believe like some of what we're working on at the moment, as well with Microsoft and with the Ministry of Education, is to help the teachers also get ready to implement these types of new approaches. So we believe that the teachers are the heart of any program's success. So we try to work in empowering the teachers. For example, with our programs, we go through different type of stages. We go through the content creation tailored to educators that shows and give them the reason to believe that game-based tools are powerful educational tools. And then we have the change and the change management and empowerment continues in the second stage, which is of course the hands-on training when we provide it for them. And then of course after that we usually provide them with the classroom level support to try and keep in communication with the educators. So sometimes they have questions and inquiries on how to deliver certain things, especially some of the teachers that are still working on that communication with their students. So they just communicate with us in the background, and then they just go and deliver, and you have these beautiful results that are happening.
Oh, that's amazing, actually. I'm gonna take a question from the audience here. That is there any other games other than Minecraft that could be add or could be an addition to the education system?
Definitely, there are multiple different types of game that a lot of different schools are already implementing. As Dan mentioned, we have the Scratch software, you have the Minecraft Lego, you have I believe it was the Mindstorm family from Lego. You have also a game developing software. Mr. Dan company is familiar. I think your company also delivers something close to that concept. So yes, there are a big number of different softwares, applications. Some are also open to the public, like the code.org website. You can just simply log into that website, and you have an endless, a huge library of coding and programming that anyone can just simply log in and start learning.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm picking up another question here. That do you think there's gonna be more engaging, more involvement in the education industry system from gaming industry? And also, do you think there's gonna be another involvement of gaming in other industries, like other than the education system? Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I heard a teacher once say to me, don't give us an educational version of your game, just give us your game, because that's what our kids like already. And so this teacher friend of mine, she used to use, I think it was the World of Warcraft. She would have all of her students logging in, and it would basically become a theater or a stage for her to work with her students. And so she didn't need like she didn't need the creators of that game to create anything special specifically for her. It was a tool that she learned to wield in her classroom. And I think I don't necessarily want to see a world of like edu games. What I want to see a world of is game developers and educators collaborating to create new games that come with really cool learning outcomes. So, you know, I'll go back to our New Zealand Histories curriculum, which is getting remade. Some really cool opportunities for games to be told. And I would say it's, especially with, you know, the Vision 2030 over there, there's so much scope for games and learning to come together properly. But I don't know if I trust game developers that don't have a background in education to be doing that. And similarly, I don't know if I trust teachers and educators to be making, you know, really awesome games without the game developers. In my mind, it's a collaboration that's waiting to happen and is slowly happening in different pockets. And so I really want to be seeing more of that happen. And to go back to your last question, I just want to throw our own platform, Game Fruit. I want to throw our hat into the ring. Yeah, it's again, it's a platform for kids to make video games, and it's highly engaging. We believe making games can be as fun as playing games when the kids are scaffolded in the right way.
Very, very nicely said. I've from personal experience, but I've grew up with games. I have a lot of my friends also grew up playing games, and here's the surprise that a lot of people don't recognize. Most of my friends don't know how to speak English at that time, but because they loved gaming so much and they loved the game that they played that was only available in English, they started to pick up certain words. And then, especially when you're playing these multiplayer games, they want to communicate with other players. So they, again, pick up more vocabulary. They start building sentences. After a couple of years, most of the people I know that play games speak proper English. They can communicate, they can discuss, and it's just not just speaking, it's speaking and writing. We took that concept and we were working with one charity organization where we had a group of kids roughly between the age of, I think it was 10 and 12, where we were giving Minecraft education lessons. And just by that concept or by that idea, we were like, these kids love the game so much and they keep asking the teacher, like, what is this, what is that, what is this, what is that? And we were like, you know what, let's teach them, you know, alphabets. Let's let them pick up the letters. Why not teach them how to write at least? So we showed them the letters on the keyboard and how each letter is pronounced. And then there's a feature inside Minecraft called Immersive Reader, where they can just like type words and then the computer can read it out for them. And they just started picking up writing. At the end of the day, our like simplest goal was teaching a kid that's 12 years old how to write his own name for the first time. Oh. You can just imagine, like when the student did that for the first time, one of the kids, I remember the whole thing just got emotional, and the teacher just came to me and like he couldn't continue the class, so we had to cover for him, at least just give him a break so he can shed those tears. As you can see, the student came up to the teacher just to make sure that he spelled his name correctly, and it was the first time he writes down his name. He was 12 years old, and the teacher told him, yeah, it was correct. The student just broke down in tears. The teacher started to comfort him, and then the teacher left the class so he can break down in tears as well. It's just a beautiful thing, and it's just playing a game. It's their love for that game, and by playing that game, they just picked up things and they started learning. And that's the whole idea of game-based learning. You're playing, and while playing the game as it is, you're just learning things.
Okay, wonderful. Do you have any, like, I would say, anything to say to the parents today? You know, my kids are watching as well, and you know, always we have that debate, stop playing, and they said we are not playing today, we are learning and stuff like that. So it's always been, especially since last year, because the whole education system were like remotely and you know, being in a distance learning. What can you tell parents about like seeing their kids playing? Of course, we always call for a balance. You have to balance between your education and your game, your playing, your even your work profession. Always you need to balance. I know today we have professional players in esport, and we always tell them to balance between their life. They are not allowed to play more than certain hours, but still there are like not resistant, but they are not convinced that these games are really educating my kids. What do you think then?
I think it's an interesting one, because as adults, we all had our learning experience a very long time ago. So we only have our own educational experience to kind of compare with. So when we see our kids coming home saying, oh, I played this game today, we're going, whoa, it doesn't look like what I remember learning to look like. And I think a lot of adults just need to trust the teachers in their kids' schools that they've got this. And it's not going to look like how learning looks like for us, but it's still learning. And I think it's only going to get more sophisticated with time. So we have to sort of step out of the way and trust that, you know, teachers know what they're doing.
I was watching a TED talk about getting over your fear and how the fear instinct, you know, basic survival instincts. And I believe the same thing applies here to parents, is when they see their kids playing a game, it's most probably they don't know what that game is. They didn't educate themselves enough to know what that game is. So what they see is, my kid is doing something, I don't know what it is. It's for the parent, that's an unknown. And the survival instinct just kicks in. If it's unknown, I should be afraid of it. Get away from that. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
So the first thing I believe parents should do is educate themselves on the game that their kid is playing. Make sure it's age appropriate. That's the first check mark you should definitely check. You don't want kids of certain ages playing games that are not appropriate for them. Other than that, just try to engage with your kids on the games that they're playing. Try to encourage them, and definitely time management. You don't want the kids to end up playing 8 hours on a single game. So yeah, just make sure that you educate yourself on the game, make sure it's age appropriate, and of course time management. I believe these are the 3 key successes for your mindset as a parent and for the kids' happiness and well-being as well, mental well-being.
Right. I do have a question here. They were asking about the application that teaches kids, preschool kids. Maybe the one you were talking about, Ayman.
Yeah.
There's a name of the application. One of the questions
Rawda.
there. Rawda. So
Rawda.
it is Rawda. Okay, great. We do have a question here that says, it is possible to see educational games courses in Saudi Arabia school?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Is it possible to see educational games courses in Saudi Arabia school?
It's already being implemented. We have Minecraft in a lot of schools. There's a lot of, again, the EV3s, the coding. A lot of teachers are also taking initiatives on their own, but it's already there.
Yeah, that's true. Another question here, it says how to make from a violent games to educational game.
Well, Mr. Dan?
Dan, if I get that, then we go back to Ayman.
Well, I mean, it really depends on the game. I think my example of Never Alone earlier is a really good example of a non-violent game that kids like to play. So there's choice. It doesn't have to be a violent game. Games like, again, Civilization, SimCity, a lot of the Nintendo games that are available out there that lots of kids are playing, Animal Crossing, they're not violent games. So I think as an adult or a parent, you want to participate in those decisions and be knowledgeable around what, if you're a teacher, what your students are playing, and if you're a parent, what your kids are playing. We actually run game design sessions with kids, and we teach them how to mash up ideas.
Nice.
One of the techniques we use is we sort of get kids we get a whiteboard, we break it into 3 columns, the games that you're playing at the moment, maybe your favorite superhero, and maybe then a learning area, maybe science. And then we get all the kids in the classroom to write on the whiteboard or use sticky notes to sort of write down the games that they like right now, and then their favorite heroes, and then the learning area, ideas around their learning area. And then we get them to take those sticky notes away and come up with their own new ideas based on all those sticky notes, all of that shared knowledge that they've put on the wall. And what we've learned over the years, that most kids these days aren't playing violent games anyway. Some of them are, but most of them are playing Minecraft or Roblox, and games like Among Us. And so again, we've got these ideas, we've got these fears that kids are playing violent games. Are they? Like, have we really stopped to check to see what the kids are playing?
Exactly. Yes, true.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely good point. I mean, if you violent, I believe in games is a perspective. I mean, like if you find someone fighting off a zombie in Minecraft, would you call that a violent act of, again, it depends on how the parents want to view things, but I don't think you can, or you should like completely remove these violent games from the kids. The violence is unfortunately there. I believe as a parent or as a guardian, you should be aware of what your kids are doing. Again, just make sure that the violent level is age appropriate at least. Those experts put those ages, those age numbers for a reason. As a parent, just make sure you're following that, and make sure you're there with your kids just to make them understand the right and wrong of the matter.
Great. As long we have still 4 minutes to go, maybe we'll take one more questions. For the teachers, there's a question says, if they want to create a video game, like to teach math, for example, what steps would they take, or where would they go to learn that?
Looking for that question. Last year, over when we were during the pandemic and locked inside, we developed a simulator about how the virus can spread. So we had kids programming the different factors. So it was sort of like the number of, they could configure the number of people, they could configure the spread rate, they could configure the number of hospitals available, and then they could click play and sort of see how the virus would sort of spread and unfold.
Brilliant.
So that yeah, and a few years before that we made one about we took a lot of kids play a game called Bloons Tower Defense, another example of what today's kids are playing, non-violent game. Well, if you consider monkeys throwing knives at balloons violent, well, it depends really. I don't consider that too violent. But kids love that game, and we reached out to that company who are also based in New Zealand, and we asked them if we could create a tutorial that taught kids the angle finding maths behind that game. So, you know, kids are learning trigonometry through coding, just how the angle maths in that game works.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a kid creating a platform, a video game like a Mario Brothers, you're learning about physics. You're learning about you have to code gravity for Mario Brothers to work. You have to add velocity to Mario for Mario to move around. So it's sort of like having an understanding. As a game designer, I have to kind of know what's going on in the game. And then as an educator, I need to be able to see the opportunities and kind of bring the two together. So creating a COVID simulator, we knew that we could get kids engaged about coding through a highly relevant subject and topic. So again, more of those experiences. And if I was a teacher listening to this, and if you've got an idea or a learning outcome you want to, you know, see gamified or turned into a game or a game creation activity, I think let us know in the comments. It's all about collaborating. I can't read your mind and I don't know your curriculum, but it's when we come together, we can actually make stuff.
Nice.
Excellent.
Okay. Ayman, do you want to conclude? That's going to be all of our questions.
Well, for the teachers that are looking to implement games in their schools, I think they should collaborate with their students and in their classroom, see what the kids are interested in. Maybe they can work on something. There are multiple of free applications and software, things that they can apply and do, or simply just work together. I mean, the simplest way to start is to, again, through gamification. If they have the means, they can, of course, apply the game-based learning throughout different applications, softwares, or programs. Like Mr. Dan said, one of the teachers just collected their students and went through a game. Check with your, again, also with the school administration, if they can bring something or add an element to your school. Communication is the key.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Ayman. It was a really enrichment and enlightenment session. Actually, I learned a lot by myself, and hopefully we're going to see you more soon. We learned that this is going to be the future. There is a bright side of video games and e-sport. That's all we need to look at, and we hope that will work for the best for everyone. Thanks again for being with us tonight. Hopefully we're going to see you all soon in another sessions. And would like to just say goodbye and have a great night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Mr. Bassem. Appreciate it.